And we'll continue with another reading, this time from Whispers from Eternity, Prayer Poems and Demands. This week I picked number 41. Wake me, that I may know that the terrors of mundane delusion are only dreams. Wrapped in the blanket of hope, I slept long. I dreamed I was sitting on a throne, my face wreathed in smiles. My smiles withered, and the petals of my merriment dropped away, one by one. Suddenly I beheld myself in rags. Seated on the hard stones of poverty, I wept. And my teardrops fell on the unheeding, unrelenting stones of my present circumstances. The world passed me by in mocking silence. I cried out for thy help, and thou didst wake me at last through the force of my desperation. I laughed to find myself at last neither rich nor poor, but safe forever in thy arms. Oh, waken all anxious souls from their dreams of smiling opulence and crying poverty. O maker of dream worlds, deliver me forever from the nightmares of disease and death. Wake me to immortality. Wake me to unshaken calmness, that I may know the fierce terrors of mundane delusion to be only dreams. That seems like a long dream we're in, doesn't it? So our topic today is the eternal now. The eternal now is the place we live in, we're born into, the place we die in, we're reborn again into the now, and over and over and over. We're always in this space. And yet, we find ourselves taking all kinds of classes and workshops that teach us to identify the moment, to acknowledge the moment, to welcome and appreciate the moment, to be ever mindful of the present moment. Isn't that interesting? We're looking for what we already have. Yogananda, when he went to India in 1935, he visited the saint Ananda RI, and he wanted to ask her about her life. So he said, would you tell me a little bit about your life? And she said, Father, because that's what she always called him, Baba, Father, there's nothing to tell. I was the same before I had this birth. I was the same when I was a child. Then I was married. I was the same. As an adult, here today, I'm the same. I will be the same when I die. I'm always the same. So where was she plugged? Where was Ananda RI speaking from? She was plugged where we're at all the time when we're aware. She was established in the self, that immeasurable, immense, immaculate, immortal, deathless self. That is her headquarters. There's where she operates from. And that's where we are taking classes to try and get back to who we already are. So the dream continues, the delusion goes on, but hopefully as spiritual seekers, we're awakening. Yogananda, when he lived in Mount Washington, he used to take his monks and nuns out to the movie theater for a little entertainment. And when the movie theater, when the action in the movie got a really intense, he always found a moment for instruction. Training continued. So he'd nudge the monks and nuns when they were just totally engaged in the plot of the movie, and he'd say, look back at the beam. And they'd look back and see that white beam that came from the film projector and opened up onto the screen and created all those incredible actions and dramas. He asked his students to go back to the beam. The beam is where it's at. How do we journey back to that place and get ourselves out of the external dramas that are playing on the screen of life and go back to that epicenter, to the place where Ananda Mohima was always established. There's also a story of young Mukunda when he was living, he lived there sometimes, but he visited a lot, the Puri ashram of his Guru Sri Yukteswar. And on this one occasion, he was trying to meditate. And he heard the voice of his Guru call to him, and he ignored it. He knew his Guru encouraged him to meditate, so he was going to continue. And the voice of his teacher called again, and he ignored it and tried to continue with his practice. And for the third time, he decided, I need to go and attend to whatever my Guru needs. And he went down and told his Guru, I was meditating. And the Guru said, yes, you were meditating very well, with your thoughts flying around like leaves in the wind. Sri Yukteswar knew that young Mukunda was desperate for an experience, a deeper experience with the divine. He had run away to the Himalayas and he had visited other teachers looking for this deeper experience. So Sri Yukteswar at this time tapped him on the chest. You can read all about this in chapter 14, but I will say a little bit because it fits with this topic. Tapped him on the chest, and in that instance, Yogananda's breath was drawn out of his body. He lost awareness of just his confining physical vessel, and his awareness expanded. It went all over. He could even see behind his head. He could even see under the soil. The soil became translucent, and he'd see the roots of the trees and the sap. He was aware of everything. He was in every atom, and he never felt as alive as he did at this time, ever. And we may say that was a wonderful experience, and that happened back then in Puri Ashram. That is happening all the time. That experience is right here, right now, right under our noses, if we're going to use the idiomatic expression regular people, the average person uses, but the spiritual seekers and yogis will say everything is right here, right now, right at the root of the nose. So, why aren't we able to perceive this? What is keeping us from this experience of being in the now, in the omnipresent space where true life unfolds? The now is happening all the time. It never stopped happening, and it never will stop happening. We can never step out of the now. Our life takes place this minute, each and every second of your life. I hear people say, people of a mature, chronologically mature state, they say to each other, how did I get here? How did this happen to me? They look in the mirror, there's some gray hair, there's some lines in the face, and they're shocked. Where did all this time go? How did this happen? And we may say that this happens, like John Lennon said, life happens while you're making other plans. We get to this place when we're not paying attention, when we're not living in the now, in the present. Then life happens to us. But to the great ones, to the enlightened ones, to the spiritual seekers, life happens for them. Life is a gift. It's a challenge to sharpen the sword, to become ever more awake, ever more alert, ever more present in this moment. The present moment is sacred space. The present moment is sanctified. It is filled with possibility and potential if you care to cultivate it and hold it and hold it and grow it and be in it. But we do get distracted. We do get carried out of it so easily. But the more you practice being in it, the more established you will become, and it'll become your home. It'll become your natural place to be. Then we won't need to go and take all those classes to acknowledge the moment and to be more mindful. It becomes your home. This is the place you never stepped out of. Yogananda used to call this place the luminescent sea of the eternal now. The luminescent sea of the eternal now. And this now is happening all the time. Interestingly enough, while I was thinking about this topic, I think it was Friday, the now, how do I approach this? I got a telephone call, and it was an insurance company that was offering to pay all my funeral services for quite a reasonable monthly fee. So here I am in the now, and I'm being offered funeral services. But I held those both moments in my consciousness, and that funeral is already there. That funeral already happened. I'm just making my way toward it. And hopefully there'll be some other events, maybe, I'm not sure, before the funeral event. And they're already there too. I'm just moving toward it. What's got your name on it is yours. So why get all anxious about getting to a certain destination? It's never about the destination. It's always about the journey. And in this space, this is where our work lies. How am I going to journey to the experiences that await me? That's where we have our freedom. That is our free will. The quality of your journey, the quality of your presence, of your attention, of your being determines how you arrive. Do you arrive whole, calm, centered, present? Or do you arrive a wreck, anxious, nervous, fragmented? That's our choice. And we get to pick over and over and over again. So the now is not part of time. The now holds past and future in it. It's not the center that cuts the center. It's the totality. Once Yogananda, while he was living at Mount Washington headquarters, took Rajaji, one of his foremost disciple at the time, into a room that was going to be painted. And he took Rajaji into the room, showed him around the room, and he said, look, he did a great job. He painted it all by himself. One of the monks was going to paint the room in the coming days. But Yogananda, established in the now, you already saw it's a done deal. is the place where the masters abide. The master's awareness is total. Our awareness is limited because it's chopped up. We are aware, thought. A little more awareness, thoughts. Awareness, distraction. Awareness, agitation. Awareness, stupefaction. Whatever it is, it's all cut up. So we don't have that perception that allows us to hold that totality. Awareness is like the space in a room. Furniture does not touch that space. We can bring the table by the window, or we can slide it all the way against the wall. We can put the armchair here and the bureau over there. Space is unaffected, untouched. And we are not like the solidity of the furniture. We're consciousness. Ever awake, ever alert, pure consciousness. And in that consciousness, that is where our lives unfold. And what better place to experience that state of consciousness than in meditation? In the Bhagavad Gita today we read that the yogi sits with the spine upright, the head and the neck erect, the gaze at the root of the nose, and he sits there single-mindedly bringing all his focus to the point between the eyebrows. That's how we get back to the being. And we offer ourselves wholeheartedly into that light. That's where the return begins. Now, many of us may say, well, I'm a little challenged with meditation, my mind is all over the place. And yes, sometimes it is all over the place, as is mine. But I find that the best way to come to meditation is to come through the heart. Get your heart excited about your meditation. And then bring that excitement of the heart to your practice. When the heart is involved in something, in anything, not just think of anything else that you enjoy, sports or music or art, the heart is joyous, it's expectant. Only then does the mind acquiesce and it's like, okay, here we go, we're going to sit here. And it is the heart, the one that hosts the living presence. There's where we really get the gift. And it's that living presence that rescues us from the wilderness of thought, from the wilderness of distraction, of delusion, of Maya. It brings us back home and it settles us. So it's not just eliminating the thoughts are not good, it's replacing them with the divine presence. Then you're not lacking, you're gifted, you're supremely gifted. There was an Indian saint, I can't remember who it was, maybe Sai Baba, I'm not sure, but he said, a fast mind is sick, a sane mind is sober, and a still mind is divine. And that stillness is where you abide in that omnipresent state. This is what we all yearn for. We've all tasted a little bit of that in whatever practice you're doing. That's why you're on the path. That's why you're seeking. You've tasted of that nectar, and it's wonderful. And we want to grow it, and we want to expand it, and we want to merge with it. Come with it, because this is who we are. This stillness is the intrinsic matrix of consciousness, of supreme consciousness, not of that lower, disturbed, agitated, ongoing mind that never lets go. Yet it takes a little effort to get there. Sri Yukteswar, Yogananda's guru, used to say, As long as you're making an effort today, everything in the future will improve. And what greater effort to stay present, to stay awake, to stay in the moment and not get dragged into those old familiar patterns of comportment. And what greater pattern of comportment that is our thought patterns, just waiting to trap us. We hear a talk, we do a workshop, we take a class, we do yoga, we feel inspired, we leave and the net goes back on. Get in your car and again, who did I have to call? What did I have to do? So how can we hold that space, that eternal now? How do we stay more grounded in it? It is said that nothing sharpens the intelligence more than staying awake, aware, clear, and present. This is the state of the masters. This state of wakefulness belongs to the now. And that state of wakefulness allows us to see everything, like in the reading we heard today, as dreams passing through. There is a little story, some of you may have heard, but I'm going to say it again. There was a traveler traveling through India, and he came to a forest, and nightfall caught him at the forest, and he didn't have any place to stay, so he looked around, and he kept walking, and in the distance he saw a little light. And he walked towards the light. It was a small dwelling. He knocked on the door. The door opened, and he asked, "Can you put me up for the night? I have nowhere to go." And he was invited into the home. And he looked around, and there was nothing in the home. It was empty. It was devoid of furniture. And he tells the dweller, "Why is this home empty? There's no furniture here." The dweller looks at the traveler and says, "Where's your furniture?" He says, "Well, I'm just a traveler. I'm passing through." And the dweller said, "So am I. Just passing through." Eternity is not a place we go to when we die. It's happening right here, right now, this minute. When you're aware, when you're attentive, perhaps you can receive the experience that young Mukunda had when he was given the experience of cosmic consciousness. Perhaps you can perceive other gifts and beauties that the present moment has to offer when we're not lost in thought, lost in distraction. Awake and aware. So I invite you to close your eyes now and just sit up. See that the spine is nice and long. Bring your awareness to your breath. Notice the flow of the breath. Establish yourself in the peaceful solitude of the heart space. Attend to its inner atmosphere. And bring your gaze to the shoreless lake of peace between the eyebrows. And cultivate this state. When you're in this state, in the quiet, in the clarity, we always know where to abide. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.